collectors, and welcome to another Bossk's Bounty video, and welcome to episode 240 of Ask Boss Bounty. This is the weekly Q&A series that drops every Sunday, where I take your questions and do my best to answer them. So if you do have a question for next week's episode and you want to be featured in the video, be sure to leave that question in the comments section of this video. And if you happen to enjoy the video, hit the like button down below, subscribe if you're new. But before we do get onto this week's questions, I do have a fair amount of stuff that I need to go through. First of all, there's going to be some thank yous. I've received a few things in the post which I want to show you, and also the news on a giveaway to celebrate 30,000 subscribers on this channel. That's right guys, I am literally 40 away, as at the time of recording this video, 40 away of hitting 30,000, and of course every time I hit a milestone I want to give something back to the community, so I've got a pretty cool giveaway and I will give you the details of that in a minute. But first of all, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody that contributed and took part in Last Figure Standing. The final was last night, and also a huge thank you to my buddies John Miko and Chris from Bantha Skull for doing a lot of the sort of legwork on that, really. I mean, I was hosting the live streams, as you know, but those two guys really did put a huge amount of work into it, and you know, on a personal level I really do appreciate it, so thank you so much guys. So of course we want to thank all the people that voted, and also the people that watched the live streams, and also the people that dropped super chats and super thanks on the videos and things like that. You know, it is greatly appreciated, it really is. But with all that being said, I just want to show you a few things that have arrived in the post. I mean, this one, the first one, arrived in time for last week's episode, but I didn't make last week's episode because I was at MCM London. And the first one is from my buddy Keith Guppy, who also runs his own YouTube channel, and the note says, "Hi mate, I think you mentioned you needed him to complete your Cantina creatures, so please accept this gift. Please open him nicely. All the best mate, Keith, Mando number 5. That is his YouTube channel, Mando number 5, and he sent this, so we'll just quickly open this up, and it is the Cantina Encounter Danik Jericho from the Trilogy collection. Now, this is one of 2 that I believe I need to complete my whole Cantina setup, and I'm going to be saving this to open up on one of my own Return to Tatooine videos. I did one episode of that, and I do need to do another one very soon where I open up some of the older figures for the Cantina. So thank you so much for that, Keith, because I know this one is getting pretty tough to get on the secondary market. People are, you know, wanting ridiculous prices for it. It's not an amazing figure in today's standards, but we have no idea whether Hasbro's going to sort of update this figure, so this one will be a great one to have in my Cantina. So thank you for that, Keith, really do appreciate it. And the next thing is from a channel member called RD Evans, and I want to say a huge thank you because this arrived to my PO box. It is the Star Wars Cloud Car. He knows that I've been after one of these for a while, and he's been telling me that he's been, you know, looking out for one, and he finally found one for me. So once again, I will be reviewing this on the channel at some point. This is going to go very nicely with my loose Cloud Car Pilot, which I opened up in a video a few months back now, which is probably where he saw that I needed one of these to go with it. So thank you, RD Evans, really do appreciate that. And the third and final thing is from a member of the community called Ben Mund, and you guys might know him. He's the guy that does the awesome carbonite blocks, the custom carbonite blocks, where he puts different figures into a carbonite block, and he's the one that did Bossk for me. So that was very cool. He sent me that months and months ago now. He's done others for other people in the community as well, and the letter that came with this is, Tim, Carbonite Frozen Bossk can now pretend he's carded if he ever feels left out. Thanks again for all you do, Ben M, with a cool little drawing of Bossk there. And this is mega cool. So this is one of those sort of like clamshells with the bubble attached already, so you just kind of need to open it up like so. If I can just do it, there we go. And let me just get the card back out. Hang on a second. So here's the card back. He designed it himself, and it is of the actual figure that he's used to be in the carbonite, which I love. So it's not like a film out or anything. And obviously you've got the Empire Strikes Back, and it says Bossk in carbonite. So this is just going to be absolutely awesome. I cannot wait to put him in the clamshell. I'm going to do it right now, and then, you know, off camera he'll be going into my collection. So there we go. There he is in his clamshell, Bossk in carbonite. That looks absolutely fantastic. What a great custom piece to have in the collection. And also I did notice on the back, the number for him there is Tim001. So, you know, this is one of one. So thank you so much, man. Oh, just, you know, I love it. And I know that I think Miko got his Bib Fortuna card back. So you are a great member of the community, Ben. You know, we appreciate you, man, doing this sort of thing. It's ultra cool. So thank you. And the final thing before we get on to this week's questions is the giveaway. So I'm due to hit the 30,000 hopefully this week. Now, if you want to enter the giveaway, all you need to do is be subscribed to the channel. And this is the most important bit here. You need to go into the description of this video, click on the link to my website for my vintage collection checklist. Now, all you need to do is come back to this video and write a comment on which images I am missing from something that is listed in the checklist. So that I'll give you a clue. There is something from 2024, something released this year, where I have it listed, but I don't have the images for that item. So you need to come back to this video when you found that out, after you've watched this video, hopefully, and then also ask a question for next week's episode. So you need to put your answer and put a question for next week's episode, and then I will do a draw for that for the winner, and the winner will receive the Rebels 2-pack. So this is the Sabine Wren and Chopper 2-pack, unopened, and I will send this anywhere in the world. Also, for my Patreon supporters and channel members, I did promise that I would be doing more giveaways over the course of this year, and that has not changed. So in the next live stream that we do together, we will be giving away the graded wicket that got a U95. I gave away the Nisa figure before in the previous live stream that went with this to one lucky winner. But also I will be giving away these two as well. So these were from the Galaxy of Heroes 2-pack. We've got the Revan and the HK47. Those both got U95, uncirculated 95 grades, top grades. Best you're going to get pretty much. And those will be given away to celebrate my 30,000 subscribers. So if you want to be a Patreon or channel member and support the channel that way, you can do so with the links in the description below. The wicket will be reserved for people that are already a member. That, you know, so if you're new, you can't be in on that wicket. I think that's just a fair way to do it. But the other two, to celebrate 30,000, you know, if you're a new channel member or Patreon supporter, then you will be in with a chance to win those. All right, then, with all that being said, I know there was a lot to get through there on the intro, so I apologize about that. Let's get on to the first question, and it's from a Kirby Mock, and he says, a question for next week. I think the TVC Snowtrooper reveal looks ace. Do you see Hasbro releasing the same in a 4-pack, just like other 4-packs previously released to please army builders? I think as long as they're still doing those white boxed army builder packs, then there's a definite possibility that we'll see the Snowtrooper in one of those. I'm not too sure how soon that they'll get round to doing that. I think ideally we want them to sort of sell out of those carded ones first. Everyone gets their carded example, and then maybe on later on next year perhaps they release an army builder pack for people that want to do that. But I do know certain army builders in the community that haven't wanted to wait, and they've just bought a bunch of carded figures of that Snowtrooper. But I would have thought that they will use that sculpt on a few different items going forward. It's a decent figure, isn't it? So why not? Middle-aged Kiwi man collecting Star Wars figures, says Kiora Tim. Great Q&A as always. Question for next week. With MCM coming hot on the heels of the awesome reveals from NYCC, what are you hoping to see announced? Supplementary question. What are your thoughts on Hasbro via Mr. Stevie saying they will slow down on the pipeline reveals? Does this increase the risk of leaks, or is a good thing because Hasbro will have to focus on actual reveals? Cheers. So the first part of your question there is obsolete now, because obviously I should have made this video last week, but I was at MCM, so I couldn't. But the second part of your question is a real interesting one, because you're absolutely right. Mr. Stevie has pretty much come out and said that he doesn't really like pipelines. He thinks it's a bit of a buzzkill on when they actually reveal things, and I completely agree on that point. However, you do mention leaks there, and I think pipelines were originally brought in to reduce the risk of leaks. So if they're going to be taking that away, then potentially leaks could spoil things, I guess, for them. Having said that, I do think they are a bit of a buzzkill, and I prefer to sort of know about things when they've actually got something to show us. I kind of agree with Steve on that. So, you know, when they've actually got a render or a 3D printed figure or whatever it might be, That's kind of when I want to know that that thing's coming out, rather than like a pipeline and then we have to wait 6 months to actually see it. Bit of a buzzkill when it finally comes around. So that's my thoughts on it. But yeah, absolutely does kind of increase the risk of leaks. S. Nichols says, hi Tim, thank goodness we're getting an all-new Snowtrooper for the return to Tatooine theme. He'll fit right in with the Cantina. Joking. Seriously though, I'm with you. Very excited about the new Snowtrooper. Do you think that's a sign we could be getting more Hoth related figures in the future? And what about a new Snow Speeder? I always thought the one we have is a little bit too big compared to the other ships and the AT-AT. Best, Scott. Well, buddy, I don't think it necessarily means that we will be getting more Hoth-related items next year, for example. And in actual fact, I don't think it really means that we'll be getting any more Empire Strikes Back figures next year either. I think the Snowtrooper could potentially be just a one-off. And if you look at that sort of wave that he's in, he's definitely the standout figure in that wave. He's the all-new figure in that wave as well, newly tooled figure. And everything else is kind of like a repack or a kit bash or whatever. So yeah, it might be just one of those ones that's like, we realise we've got OT fans, Empire Strikes Back fans. This is a figure that's been highly requested over the years, so we're going to pump him out in 2025 without any attachment to anything else that's coming out in that year. So that's kind of my thoughts on it, really. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see anything else from Empire Strikes Back, if I'm honest. Dwayne Cook says, another great video, sir. I know that the Return of the Jedi anniversary is over, but do you think we'll get a re-release of the Gamorrean Guard? They are expensive somewhat on eBay. A Troop Builder 4-pack with a variety of weapons and subtle differences would be amazing. Also, an Endor Rebel Soldier 4-pack would be much appreciated. Yeah, so a lot of people out there have definitely been asking for the Gamorrean Guard. Even the reissue that they brought out in 2019, I think it was, is now pretty expensive on the secondary market again. So for me, that's a figure that they've only used a couple of times. I think a re-release of it would do well. I mean, there's definitely people that would like multiples of those to put into their Jabba's palaces, but maybe the way to go with that is like an Army Builder 4-pack rather than bringing him out on card again. Because as I said, they have already re-released him once already. So, how much would that actually sell through? Endor Rebel Soldier 4-pack would be much appreciated as well. I think a lot of people would like that. But in terms of the Gamo Guards, I think ideally I would like them to do the one from the Book of Boba Fett as well. That's definitely one that we could do with. So on the Gamo Guard theme, not only re-release that figure, maybe they could use some of the tooling for those ones without the sort of shirt on, basically, from the Book of Boba Fett. Jones Boys 79 says, question for next week. Hey Bossk, thanks for all the work with these weekly Q&As. Someone asked about the Vintage Collection incorporating the packaging like they recently did for the Clone Commander Cody in the Black Series. I got to thinking, with all the love and nostalgia associated with our childhoods, I was born in 75, are we missing out on building our ranks as a collecting group by not encouraging Hasbro and embracing the prequel packaging, or for that matter, Power of the Force? Collectors love nostalgia, but those of us who are openers love articulation and sculpt. Yes, I love the Vintage Collection packaging the most, but frankly, I don't care what the card back is if I'm getting all the characters I would love to see. And I think if we increase sales of 3 3/4 inch, we would all be happier. So really my comment about that last time we made a video on this was basically I've got no need for those packagings because we've already had them in 3 3/4, and with the limited amount of new figures 3 3/4 gets, I don't think there's room for like another line. It's only going to take budget away from TVC if they did another whole line of 3.75. So let's just say, for example, they said, right, we're going to do a bunch of Revenge of the Sith figures in those packaging, super articulated and what have you. Yeah, it sounds cool, but the budget would be split between other 3.75 inch lines such as the Vintage Collection. So for me, I would rather have those Revenge of the Sith figures on vintage style cards. I think for the Black Series it works because they've never had those sort of types of card backs before, and it's a bit of a novelty, like having Commander Cody in one of those packaging, even though Commander Cody was never a figure in one of those Revenge of the Sith packagings from 2005. Yeah, I think it's more set for the Black Series. It's just my opinion though. Like, I mean, other people might say, no, the Vintage Collection should definitely have these, callbacks to previous 3.75 inch lines. But in my opinion, I just think it'll take away from what TVC is. And as I said, I'd rather have those new figures on TVC cards. And if we're only getting 12 newly tooled figures a year, which is what it seems to be, then I think it'll be a bit of a waste putting them in any other sort of packaging, because the fact is they just won't sell as well as TVC, because there's a bunch of people in the community that are carded collectors only, but only this style, just the TVC. That's all they want. They're not really bothered even about maybe the droids card backs that we got, or the Ewoks card backs. So that's just my opinion on it. I'd be glad to debate it and have people, you know, down in the comment section below giving me their opinions on it. I'm all ears. Andrew Cook says, hey BB, so if my math is correct, the Howler that we just revealed puts the total number of creatures, not including pets, in TVC at 3. I'm really glad they're adding creatures for world building, but there are so many more out there that we'd love to have in the line. So my question for next week is, if you could suggest a couple of creatures from the OT, PT, animation and new media, which creatures would you ask Hasbro for? I think the Rancor might be a HasLab even in TVC, but maybe third time could be a charm for getting the Bantha, right? Or we could get an EOP for Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon to ride around Tatooine. I'd even happily take a repaint of the Blurg if we could get it with the Rebels or Clone Wars package, with Cham Syndulla for a pack-in figure. Whew, that was a long question. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not too sure if I'll be able to think of creatures across all of those things, but the OP is definitely one that I've mentioned before. I mean, the one we have is a pretty decent sculpt. It looks all right, but in terms of TVC standard, it's way off if you're comparing it to the Howler and the Blurg and the Tauntaun, which is the 3 that we currently have. But I think you can't really go too far wrong when you think about the Bantha and the Dewback, purely because of the cross media that they have. So they're from the original trilogy, but they've also been in Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, I want to say, both of those. So those two for me would be really, really good to be updated, especially if you could do the Dewback as good as they did in the Black series. I think that would be absolutely awesome. And yeah, the Eope is another one that I would like, and there's plenty of others but let me know down in the comment section below, once again, you know, what creatures you would like them to make. Maybe a Loth Wolf, for example, would be a good one. And speaking of the Loth Wolf, Conrad Pad says, hey Tim, with the new Sabine and Howler, do you think the tooling is close enough that we could get a new white Loth Wolf from Rebels Season 4? Also, what figure would they pack in with it? They should use Season 4 Ezra, but they also said he is exclusive to the HasLab. What are your thoughts? So this is something that I actually talked about with Chris, the designer at MCM. When I was looking at the Howler in the cabinet, I said, you know, could that potentially be used for other creatures maybe? And I suggested the Loth Wolf. And he quite rightly said that the Loth Wolf is actually quite a bit larger than the Howler. Almost double in size if you look at this image that I'm putting on screen now. So in that case, probably not. Also, when you're looking at the sort of Loth Wolf, they kind of have this mane at the front, and the rest of them is quite short-haired, which doesn't really match the sculpt of the Howler either. So in that case, I don't think they could use it. And, you know, Chris is obviously on the ball with these sorts of things, but I have heard other people suggest it, but that was kind of his answer, really. Mokule says, instead of a re-release of the Clone Wars gunship for her HasLab, what about one of the variants, like the version that carried and dropped the ATTE in the Battle of Geonosis? Get both the dropship and the ATTE, then get a dropship pilot and variants of clone troopers as tiers. So I think that particular vehicle is called the ATOT, I think, and they released it in Lego years ago. An absolutely awesome UCS set with the dropship and the ATTE included. It's a bit of a sort of a grail for Lego collectors now, and I'm with you, buddy. I would absolutely love one of those in the vintage collection. I can't see it happening, but it would be damn cool, absolutely. I think they're a little bit bigger than your standard gunships, because obviously they've got to carry that ATTE, but they're very, very similar. They're kind of hollowed out at the bottom, so they can sort of drop down and pick them up and everything. So very, very cool. Great idea, but it's just one of them that I think it's maybe too big, and you'd want the ATTE to come out at the same time as well. So I think that's probably asking a bit much, but cool idea anyway. Dan Von Carr says, question for next week, would you like Hasbro to do a sort of army builder pack that's more of a populate a scene pack? It would consist of kit bashing various figures, parts of Jabba's goons, or not too distinct parts from characters to remake random people to populate the cantina, for example. So yes, but I would change the end part of your question there. So I wouldn't want them to do like random people, like random sort of characters in the background. I would like them to have names if it's like a character pack. So if they were thinking about the cantina as an example, or the palace, I would like it to be actual figures that are actually on screen rather than something they've just kind of made up and put a name to, if you like. And yeah, this is definitely one thing that I've talked about, the difference between a army builder pack and a character pack, and Hasbro have kind of blurred the lines on those a little bit and had a bit of both occasionally, especially with the Imperial Officer pack, for example, putting Motti in there. I think that's a bit of a mistake. You either keep them all generic or put all named officers in there so you can get an actual character pack of Imperial officers. But again, just my opinion on it. Beast of Viper Squad says, hi Bossk, great show as always. Question for next week: if you didn't have a channel and was just a normal collector like us, how different would your collection look like? Like, since you didn't have to review the figure, would you have as many loose figures as you do now, or would your collection be as big as it is since you didn't have to review and compare every release? So yeah, it's a great question this, because yes, I think ultimately if I didn't have the channel, then I would be a lot more selective on the things that I buy. I wouldn't buy every single reissue, for example, because I might already have that figure and I'm happy with the one that I have. Maybe I don't need the photo reel, for example. There might be certain medias that I'm not a huge fan of compared to other medias, and when there's 50 or 60 figures in a year, maybe I'd have to be a little bit more selective of which ones I wanted and which ones I'm ultimately going to be displaying and which ones I'm not. So yeah, 100% it would definitely change. Not too much though, because I do love the line and because I just love 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures anyway. You know, even some of the Acolyte figures, which isn't my favourite show, I can still respect for being pretty awesome figures from a figure standpoint. But this is where the question is, you know, would I end up actually displaying them? That's another question. So yeah, my collecting habits would definitely change if I didn't have the channel. It's the Nat Man says, I love the idea of a pilot and Astromech droid 2-pack sets. They did a couple of them for Star Wars Resistance. I wish they'd done all of the pilots in that style. You said that you'd like a new Astromech droid mold instead of the Builder droid, and presumably to replace the awful Black Series / TVC mold. What would you like to see from a new Astromech mold? Do you think they should just do a compatible but improved Builder Droid 2.0 style mold, or something completely different? So my personal opinion is that they should use what they've done for the Black Series. They should scale that down into 3.75 with the pop-up head, with all of the accessories within that sort of head body piece, if you like, that sort of goes down, that can be attached into the body of the droid. And this is something again that I talked to Chris, the designer at MCM, and I said, is there any reason why that you can't scale down the Black Series one so that TVC has a new Astromech droid, and then any future droids can use that going forward? I said presumably the little accessories that are in the head would be too small, and he said not necessarily. So I took that as maybe they've experimented on that before, or at the very least they've sort of looked into it maybe, because I think they could do that. And I personally think that would be pretty cool if they did that, if we got what they've got in Black Series in TVC for Astromechs. David Stevens says, hiya Tim, love to you and the family. Question for next week: what would be your most wanted alternate outfit new release for a character already available in TVC? For me it would be Princess Leia, Ewok Village. Keep up the great work. So that is definitely one that I can say right now that I would like to see in the line. I was super jealous of that one when Black Series got it. But there's quite a few others if we think about it. I mean, I've got Queen Amidala here. It would be very, very cool to have the, is it the Theed Palace version of her, where she's in her red outfit. That would be a pretty awesome character to have from the prequel trilogy. Different outfit for her and things like that. There's countless Padmes as well that we could have. If we're talking about animation, for example, you know, we've got Ezra from Ahsoka. It would be great to have season 1 version of Ezra. I think that's needed in the line. So there's a couple for you there. I love this name. Darth Malak's missing lower jaw says, question for next week: would you be excited for an all-new U-Wing HasLab? The 10th anniversary of Rogue One is coming up in 2026, and Andor Season 2 will feature the U-Wing. Not sure what the tiers could be, but would love to see this starship, my fave from Star Wars. I'm not going to say that necessarily it would be my number 1 HasLab, but it would definitely be in my top 3 maybe. I would say I would absolutely love for them to do the U-Wing in the Vintage Collection, proper scaled, you know, so you can get 2 people in the cockpit, you can get plenty of figures in the underbelly, cargo area if you like. That would be absolutely fantastic. Full Vintage Collection treatment, really big. amazing weathering, all that kind of stuff. I absolutely love Rogue One. I love the design of the ship. There is no reason whatsoever why I would not want that in TVC, quite honestly. So I would be very, very up for that. And again, I'm mentioning Chris, the designer from MCM, but I was with him all day. I was talking to him about a whole wide range of things. And, you know, he was asking quite candidly about, you know, what do I think the community want from a HasLab, or what do I want? And, you know, there was other people around and we're kind of sort of listing things that we wanted. And the U-Wing came up and I said, you know, from a personal point of view, that's something that I would definitely like to see. And I'm sure, you know, a decent amount of the community would be up for that as well. Of course, they've got their own sort of market research on this kind of thing going on as well. It's not just what I'm saying, but, you know, I did say that when they do these things, they need to give us the right characters. So I said, if for whatever reason you were ever thinking about doing the U-Wing, then, you know, you've got to have Bistan, that monkey man. It'd be great to have the other alien rebel soldier. I think it's Pal. He would be fantastic as well. We need Bodhi as well in the line. So, you know, there's just a couple of figures that I feel would need to be not necessarily in the HasLab or as one of the tiers, but as supporting figures, characters outside of the HasLab at the same time as they're sort of making it, releasing it. And that goes for any HasLab that they do, right? I think that's a given now. You need supporting product to go with the HasLabs. Stephen Vasic says, hi BB, hope you're well. Do you think we will get a Captain Enoch and Night Trooper 2-pack in TVC, or either singly on their own card backs? Also, now with the new Snow Trooper, maybe get a 4-pack or a repaint and get some new Galaxy Troopers, or a single on its own card. I was also wondering, do you collect any other Star Wars memorabilia at all, like bubblegum cards or something else? I read a lot of Star Wars books too. Do you do anything like that? Keep up the good work, mate. Star Wars novels and things like that, I have bought them in the past. I'm not the biggest reader. I just don't seem to have the time to do that. But I do like that sort of thing. And in terms of other Star Wars memorabilia, I would have to say no, unless it's Bossk related. I have my sort of Bossk focus related items, which come from all different lines and all different companies, not just Hasbro 3 3/4 inch Star Wars. And in terms of the Enoch, I would think it would be a bit of a shame if they didn't put him on his own card back. And also this guy that I've got sat next to him as well, the Chief from the Tusken Raider 4-pack. Those two for me should have been on card backs anyway. They shouldn't have been included in those army builder packs. And this is what I was talking about, the blurred lines with those 4-packs. They haven't really sort of got it right, in my opinion anyway. And I would not be surprised to see Enoch on his own card back. More so than the Tusken Chieftain anyway. When that will happen, I do not know, but it's something that I could definitely see happening. Maybe not the Trooper on his own card back. A 2-pack might be the way to go, but then again, you're kind of almost firewalling this figure away in something that's more expensive than it should be. He should just be a regular figure on his own card. Single normal price, in my opinion. Nigel Fisher says, thanks for a great video. Warms my cockles watching from North Carolina. Question for next week. You stated VC card backs are sacred and should not be touched. How about improved? The back of the cards were the magic of what's next and what is left to buy. Really think this is a missing part of the puzzle. What would you want to see on the card backs? So this is the thing with these. At the moment, they're looking like this, right? And this I don't agree with. They're putting the thing that you're getting on the back. I enjoyed it when it was like a sort of a history lesson, like the first release of that character, whatever line that might have been. I quite liked that. And I also quite like the ones where you maybe got 6 characters on the back as well. I know it's not a Kenner card back where you get all 92 available figures or whatever, but I think there's some kind of law about, you know, you can't show products on the back of a card that aren't available to the customer. So you wouldn't be able to have the whole line of TVC figures ultra small as some kind of checklist like the Kenner line did. I don't think that's possible. And that's why you only see figures that are in and around a certain wave that are out at the same time. You know, you can go back to the Legacy collection and look at the figures there. All of these figures there, this is Baru White Sun. All of those figures there were either in the same wave or out at this roughly about the same time. So maybe that is the case. Maybe there is some law against it. Again, it's not something that I know of 100%, but it's something that I've heard in the past and it sounds about right to me. Whew. All right then guys, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out the details of how you can be in with a chance of winning the Sabine, Wren and Chopper 2-pack. At the beginning of the video, I told you how you can be entered into that giveaway, and also check out the links in the description below for my Patreon and channel membership, so you can potentially support the channel and also be in with even bigger giveaways. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to my current Patreon supporters and channel members. Your support means a great deal to me as always, so thank you so much. Thanks for watching everybody, and we shall see you on the next one.